Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Shiro's Collective podcast. I'm your host, Janae Sparks, and today I have yet another amazing Shiro. I am so excited to introduce to you a very proud Durban girl, Ash Leigh La Foy, aka Lex LaFoy. This phenomenal human being is a rapper, a writer, a creative project manager, and a community development specialist. She does radio podcast producing as well as a presenter on that. And she's got projects like Peace 4, which she's going to have to explain to us. That's concerts that's done in areas where there's quite a lot of violence, just to bring communities together. I love the word that I read when I was doing my research. It spoke about Ubuntu-ness. So she's going to have to unpack some of that. But it gives communities a sense of unity. And I think that's fantastic. So welcome, Lex.
Thank you so much, Renee. I'm really happy to finally be on the Shiro's Collective podcast. And I love the work that you're doing. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. Thank you so much. So our paths have crossed a few years ago when you were working in the HIV prevention space. Similarly to myself, we were both a part of the South African National AIDS Council Civil Society Forum, right? So I'm thinking I've had through my fellowships the opportunity to meet with quite a lot of creatives, and it's been interesting to see how work in that space kind of molds and blends into health, right? So I was just wondering, how has your time of working in the HIV space kind of spurred or fueled what you were doing in terms of your creativity?
Yes. Thanks for asking that. So, how I even came to work in the SANAC space was just pure divine, miraculous alignment, if I can say that. The year was, I think, 2015, if I remember correctly, going into 2016, actually. So it was 2016, I was working in Johannesburg, and one of my closest friends that I'd known from Durban, who also migrated to Johannesburg, her name is Blossom Madigizela. And Blossom was working with Show Me Your Number NPO at the time, which operates and was heading the sports, arts, and culture sector of SANAC. And at that time, Blossom had let me know that they were looking for artists to work with to create a song that would empower young women to own their own hustle, stand on their own 2 feet, become economically independent, and to keep away from blessers, keep away from things we now know as, sexual favors, transactional sex, things that were putting and continue to put young women at risk. So I was all for this. I felt like this aligns with me as a person. I'm very much for equality. I'm very much for gender equality. I love, strong leader, innovative woman, because I've been raised by a single strong mother, and so I respect and admire other women, that can do the same. So I felt an alignment with what they wanted, to create in the song. I said to Blossom, I'm like, Blossom, you don't need to look any further. I know I'm your friend, but this is not corruption. It's only corruption if the person cannot do the job. So, so I said, please just let me meet with Mr. Mabalani Mfundisi. Let me share my experiences with him, my portfolio, my CV, my resume, my bio, and we take it from there. So that began a 6-year relationship with myself and Show Me Your Number. It was a phenomenal experience, Renee. Mr. Mabalani Mfundisi is such a great mentor. He is such a great leader in the space. I was very, very blessed. He's the type of leader who sees the greatness in you sometimes before you even see the greatness in yourself. He's that type of a leader. He will throw you in the deep end because he knows you will swim. And that's pretty much what my life was like. Working in the SANAC space. it opened me up to things that I'd always wanted to do. I love working with young people. I studied psychology. I'd always wanted to share. I have a love for sharing the knowledge, the information that I have with other young people. I mean, that comes through also in my love for media, you know. So yes, I spent 6 beautiful years working on national programs for youth, for young, for women, for men, and it really escalated me. It really moved me up into a place that I'd always known that I can operate in, but was not given the chance to operate in before.
Yeah.
So I absolutely loved working with Show Me Your Number. I loved working with the South African National AIDS Council. I learned a lot of diplomacy. I learned a lot of people skills with, you know, a leader, a co-chair actually, such as Steve. You know, I think anyone observing Steve learns a lot, whether you know it or not. You know, it's not easy navigating and balancing and respecting so many people, so many sectors with different strengths, different interests, yet Steve, as a leader, I found always found a way to make each sector, each person feel respected. So it was a huge blessing for me working in the SANAC space. I learned so much that I still take with me today. Yeah, no, it was
Fantastic.
fantastic. Yeah.
I love the fact that you could bring that. And I mean, you've brought your creativity into the space, which is fantastic. And absolutely, I mean, I think gone are the days where programs are written in offices that don't really connect to people on the ground. And that's great. If they're bringing, at the end of the day, I think everyone has a creative streak, and it's about just kind of evoking that. But I love the fact that you could bring the two together and kind of show, but it exists. And I've only really seen it because I'm part of the African Brain Health Network, and there's a whole push about creativity and just how actually it helps with your overall wellness. So even in demand creation and all of this that you've just spoken about, it really does just pull and bring people together in a way. So again, bringing your Ubuntu-ness into this. Yeah. So, I mean, I want to now go back to your music, because we
Okay.
know that the 18th of this month,
Yeah.
you'll be giving birth to a very long awaited special project that you've really, really kind of toiled to get to. I think you said 10 years. Yeah. So
Yeah.
Lexicon 2.0 project will then be launched on the 18th, I believe.
That's correct. That's
What
correct.
can we expect? What is this about?
Sure. So, my musical journey as an artist began when I was in matric in 2004, and I discovered a world I didn't know existed, Renee. I mean, I'd only connected with music and artists prior to that on TV and on radio. And then in 2004, I discovered we have all this right here, you know, on our doorstep in Durban. We had a thriving, and we still do have a thriving community of artists, of rappers, of poets, of graffiti artists, break dancers. It's endless. Fine artists, mural artists. We have an amazing, thriving city full of artists. So it was 2004, and I discovered the wider hip hop community in Durban, and I began finding my way, finding my voice. And I called myself Lexicon, which means your collection of words or your vocabulary. And I guess that just represented my love for the spoken word, for the power of words, really, Renee, because words are so powerful, you
Yeah,
know.
absolutely.
And yeah, so the lexicon journey existed from about 2005 to 2012. And I moved to Johannesburg in 2012. I rebranded as Lex LaFoy. And yeah, I've been working as Lex LaFoy since, but the lexicon era in my life is very, very important. I believe it gave me the foundation I needed as an artist, as a rapper, as a writer. It was a space of conscious hip hop, a space of, the very rooting of hip hop itself with the socially aware message, very grungy, if I can say so, because we were operating on the streets in ciphers, freestyling, battle rapping, all these raw parts of hip hop that are often overlooked in the digital age, but were very necessary in creating community, in creating unity amongst us artists, and even back then, even in 2005, I looked around and I loved to see the diversity around us, Renee. I mean, hip hop, music, arts, the creative world brings people of all colors, of all creeds, of all cultures together for our common love, for what we do, how we express our forms of expression. And hip hop for me did that. It opened me to a world of other amazing creatives that I see today in positions that I'm just like in awe of. I mean, I just saw a poet that I'd known from way back then, who's now like creative head, head of creative direction in like a huge agency, a global agency. And I'm thinking to myself, it's true what Erykah Badu says, it's true what Dead Prez says. It's bigger than hip hop, and hip hop is the healer, for a lot of us people of color who come from communities that were underprivileged, and all we really had was our voices, all we had was the message that we wanted to share. And somehow that brought us into a wider creative collective and community. So Lexicon is she's she's hardcore. She's the hardcore part of myself. And there's a time in my musical career from 2012 to 2013 where I was recording music in Johannesburg, recently signed to an independent music label, and somehow things were not working out, Renee. The people we were signed to had full-time jobs and they were not meeting the deadlines, and myself and my producer at the time, San Thurman, we were depending on this. This was like our bread and butter, so there was just a clash of interest at the time. Our needs were not being met as artists. And it became very, very frustrating because I knew that my daughter was back home. And I'm thinking the sooner I get this going, the sooner I can, reunite with my daughter, the sooner I can be financially independent. And I had all these plans in my head, as to how I thought it would play out. And it didn't. It didn't play out like that. It took a much longer time for me to become financially stable enough to reunite with my daughter. And it didn't happen the way I thought it would. I thought she would come to Joburg. I came back home. It was just so different to what I imagined, but so much better, if I can say that. So much better than I ever imagined. And so in the 2012, 2013 phase, I created this music, and it's the last part of the Lexicon era beginning to come into the Lex LaFoy era. And it's a very special part of my life, of my creative journey for me, because it's kind of got the best of both worlds, I feel. It's very experimental. Ifani is featured on there, Leah Butler is featured on there, Bongani Fasi is featured on there, and a few other people. And I'm just like, I can't wait for it to come out, because I don't know if people have ever heard this comparison, but we're like a bin, or whether you want to say a laundry bin or a dirt bin, we're like a container. Let's say a container rather. And until what is in the container has been emptied out, you can't refill that container. I remember an American poet sharing that example with me many, many years ago. And that's how I feel, is that I have so much amazing new music that I'm actually currently writing and currently busy with that I can't wait to get out. But I know that I have to get the Lexicon project out first. You know, I feel like that release is just, it's very necessary. It's a necessary part of the journey. And for, you know, also just to inspire others, you know, expression is vital. The messages, the poems, the songs that we receive to give,
Yeah.
you know. And I think for me, that's just the reminder with this project. Also, I was very blessed. I was one of, I think, 100 artists in the country to receive a SAMRO music support creation fund, if that's, yeah, I think that's the right word. So basically SAMRO, which is the royalty collecting organization of South Africa, SAMRO has a support funding pool that they open to the public for artists to apply for. And I was one of 100 artists in 2023 to receive a small micro grant that has enabled me to just wrap up all the production costs on the project. So shout out to SAMRO.
Definitely, definitely. And to anyone who's looking to go down this path, that there are people out there that help. There are organizations out there.
Definitely,
So, yeah.
definitely. And you know, Renee, like the very act of reclaiming one's work is so powerful because we've seen artists in the music industry, we've seen South African artists in the music industry, we've seen female South African artists in the music industry really just being messed over.
Yeah.
You know, when it comes to things like contracts, I mean, when it comes to not being able to perform their very own music because of contractual issues.
Yeah.
So I've been very blessed, not once, but twice, to to walk away from something and still have my music. Of course, with the Lexicon 2.0 project, it wasn't like that initially.
Yeah.
I had to wait many, many years to get the music back, but eventually I got it back. So this is a story of reclamation. It's a story of the comeback. It's a story of a return, wholeness, full circle. If anything, that's really the story of the Lexicon 2.0 project. Yeah.
That's amazing. I saw in the little in the poster that it was speaking about this transformation from to where you are now. So I get it. So thank you for that, because what you've just given is so rich in comparison. I mean, you know, you can only put so much on a poster and you can only say so much about something, but to hear it in this way, it's really, really powerful. And I love the fact that you just spoke about diversity, equity, inclusion, because those were the questions I was going to ask. What does the space look like? I mean, if you think hip hop initially, you don't necessarily think of women as a predominant figure there. But I see, I mean, more and more, I am seeing women out there showing up, giving voice to that. But do you think that there's been a change since you started? Or do you think that there's still a lot of work that artists like yourself need to do in order to get the word out there and to introduce this to many more women and girls?
Yeah. Thanks, Renee, for that question. You know, any change, any positive change, it requires intention. And if anything, I feel that I've seen more change, more positive change. I've seen more inclusion of women in the hip hop industry, in the music industry, in the creative industry, because of people like myself and others that are intentionally, like yourself, intentionally creating a platform for more women. It takes intention. It's not gonna change. Nothing's gonna happen if we just sit back and kind of just wish it were different, you know, or complain. Nothing's gonna happen. But it takes people like ourselves, Renee, who are intentionally changing the status quo, you know, creating more space, more opportunity, more safe spaces for women to operate in, to express their gifts, to do what it is they love, you know. And it's gonna take a lot more work. We have already, like you say, we see the change, we see more inclusion, but pretty much like the management of our country, sometimes the forefronts can be deceiving, because we don't only want change in the forefront, we want change all the way through.
Yeah.
Meaning we can, as we begin to see more women on lineups, on brand endorsements, you know, on concert lineups, on production teams, women in tech, women in sound, women in events. That is extremely powerful. But we as women also need to be the owners. We need to be the owners of studios, of music studios. We need to be the owners of equipment. We really need to be owners. And why I say this, Renee, is because the same in relationships, in interpersonal relationships, where there is dependency, we open a door for vulnerability and abuse. It's the exact same thing in the music industry, where men are the ones who have the studios, who own the equipment and things like that. And we often see this. We often see men wanting to give women studio sessions in exchange for sexual favors, you know, and it's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. And I think the only way we can begin to change that is if we as women are the ones who actually have these spaces, who can invite other women to record, put other women on our lineups, and just create safe spaces, as I say, for other women to operate in. Because look, not all men are bad, like not all women are bad. But I feel like we decrease the opportunity for abuse by empowering more women in the creative industry, in the music industry.
I literally have goosebumps. Literally, because I totally hear you. It is one of those things, and it's amazing when we can start giving, you know, planting that seed of think differently. You don't have to only be the artist. You can be the producer. You can be so much more. And I mean, I think you actually literally live that, because here you are, you're busy, you're Durban's first lady of hip hop. I mean, I did not say that, but that is how you are introduced, and that's incredible. So you cannot be that without showing up and without doing. But the other thing that I really, really loved to see was the fact that you're a writer and you've written a children's book, right?
Yes, that's right.
Yes. And that was just incredible. I was reading it, I was reading about it, and I just thought, oh my word, you need to tell us about that. And how, I mean, did you like write that a while ago, or how did you find time to, in your day, to fit that?
Yes.
Or is it something that's kind of evolved over years, similarly to Lexicon 2.0, that's taken time?
What a lovely question. You really have done your homework, Renee. I like this.
I actually knew about the book long before the launch, but yeah.
Oh, yes. Thank you for asking about that. Oh, so my children's book is called Queen Shalabeama and the Star Children, and we also have a Zulu version for that. To be honest, Renee, sometimes I wish I wish I had a whole team, because I feel like these things could manifest and multiply much quicker. But doing it on my own with the little bit of help that I get here and there, it helps. It helps, but I still wish there were more of us. So the book, wow, the book I wrote between, I think, 2015 and 2016, possibly into 2017, but I think it took about 2 years on and off. I was on tour with iFani, and the label is called Disguise. So I was on tour with the Disguise family at that time. And the habits of reading, my mom actually taught me and left that with me. I mean, she's still around and she's still an amazing reader and writer. But from small, my mom took me to the library, and, got me into the habit of reading.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful that she did that, because I love reading, and in turn, I love writing. And the same with my daughter.
Yeah.
I would freestyle little bedtime stories to her, and
I can see that actually.
our favorite one was Farmer Brown. I'll never forget. and and like, I'd come up with these different endings all the time, or like, and she'd develop some of her favorite characters, and I'd rework some of the characters, and it was just this imaginative play, because for any parents, who parented their younger kids, they'll know that story time is a very special time. It's a very intimate moment, where you're winding down from the day, you're getting your child ready for sleep, and you're trying to create this peaceful environment. So yeah, the I'd say the habits, or the action of storytelling, children's storytelling, came from my experience, parenting my daughter, reading more freestyling stories to her. And the story of Queen Shalabeama, I'm trying to remember how it came. Like, it came as like this short little, I don't know, paragraph, some imaginative paragraph.
Yeah.
And I started writing more and more, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is becoming big. And it was such a beautiful, beautiful process, Renee. I remember testing the book on Ifani's nephews in Port Elizabeth. They were little at the time, and I read it for them, and they were like so enthralled. They were sitting next to me and like waiting on the next, and I'm like, oh, okay, maybe it works. Maybe I did it.
Yeah.
So that's how the book came about. And the book is about, I'm not sure if people have heard of the phrase indigo children, or indigo people, or empaths, really. People who are creative, who are very connected with their emotions. I started seeing a rise in the number of empaths and what I would call indigo people in the industry, amongst creatives, these young people that are just so sensitive and so emotionally connected, And at the same time, while we see a rise of really, young people that are highly connected with their emotions, and self-thinkers, a lot of young people nowadays are very much, independent thinkers. That's amazing. On the flip side, on the negative side of that, we've also seen, quite a few young people who cannot take the pressures of the world and end up committing suicide. So on the one side, you've got a generation of extremely sensitive, emotionally tuned, creative young people who feel the weight of the world, who feel the issues of the world. We've seen famous artists also succumb to things like suicide, and so in my meeting with young people, young creatives like this, I ended up writing the story that is dedicated to children, to indigo people, to empaths, to creatives, to people who are in tune with themselves and their emotions, who feel what people go through, who feel what our communities go through, and letting them know it's okay. For the small child who doesn't know what to do with all these emotions, or who feels different, the book is dedicated to those children. To say, hey, it's okay. You have come to share love and light, and you have come to transform those around you, whether you like it or not. And it's okay. It's just okay. I think, if anything, sometimes people just need to be told it's okay. So that's really the model of the story, of the book. It's for kids 7 and up, and I've also gotten it translated into isiZulu, The aim is to get it translated into Afrikaans and Xhosa too. But honestly, Renee, I don't know where one will find the
Where's the
time.
time?
But eventually, that's the goal.
Still different. Okay, and then where can people get hold of that book?
They can contact me via my email address and place an order, or through social media. I print copies by order for order.
Okay,
Yeah.
fantastic. So at the end of this podcast, there will be your details that we could share with them
Okay.
where they can order that. So that's perfectly fine, just
Okay.
so that we don't miss out on that. But thank you so
Thank
much. I think that's an amazing message as well now, given we've just had Mental Health Day, and I really feel like this is
you.
mental health month, really. And not that
Yeah.
you actually need it every single day, but at least it gets a little bit of airtime. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's the time that people don't really engage in the same way. We see the ribbons everywhere, we see, talks everywhere, but I think something like that, also just sharing about a book and the message around it's okay. I've seen even with World Mental Health Day, the messages people were posting was it's okay if you're not
Oh,
okay, So what you're saying now actually resonates with all of that. So that's amazing. So yeah, keep doing the work. I hear you, but there will be time, and especially an important message like that. We are nearly wrapping up, but I know that you are so passionate about being known as the Durban girl, and I've even listened to the track Durban girl in my preparation to meeting you.
mhm.
I just want to know, how do you stay grounded? I mean, yes, it's taken you this long, but Lexicon 2.0 project is your seventh body of
Mhm.
work to be released. So it's not like you've just arrived, right? And yeah, maybe you're not where you wanted to be yet, but you're on your way, and it's going to be amazing. It is already amazing. But how do you just bring yourself back there to being uh Ash Leigh La Foy, mom too, and artist, and yeah.
um Oh, I wish there was more time to speak on peaceful as well, but I'll touch on
Please
that
do too.
in your answer.
Oh,
Okay.
no, please do,
Um,
please do.
yes, there's something I learned while working in the Senex space, Renee. When you serve others, it takes you away from the congestion of your own overthinking when you serve others. And I enjoy the work that I do, and I think that's a huge part of it. I enjoy what I do. I recently also started working with an ad agency in the events team. And that in itself is a huge miracle, because I'm amongst people in that space that studied marketing and studied like to be there. I'm self-taught for events.
I know that feeling. Me too.
Self-taught
So
person.
well done.
Yeah, thank you so much. And really, I feel like even the peaceful events have helped qualify me to be the person that I am now, and continue to teach me and qualify me. Peaceful, I started in 2022. We are planning the third one. So in 2022, we did Peace for Sydenham. In 2023, we did Peace for Wentworth. And we were going to do Peace for Newlands this November, but we've moved it to the 1st of March next year. Wow, there's so much I'm learning there, Renee. I mean, when I worked in the Sanex spaces, one of the things that dawned on me, there were two things that dawned on me. The first thing is that I'm here for other people's children, I'm here for other people's daughters and young women, but I'm not there for my own daughter because I was working away. So it hit me really hard, and I began talking to my Balani and saying, look, my daughter's a teenager now. I need to actually make a plan to go back to Durban. I need to be there for my daughter. That was the first point of conviction that really hit me hard. And the second point of conviction that hit me is that as a colored or mixed race person, I noticed that we were not implementing in as many colored communities. I
The
felt
money
like
doesn't go there.
I felt like our colored communities were really being marginalized, were not being invested in as much as our other communities. And of course, these are politicized issues, you know, the mere classification of colored from black, and it's things that are, we don't want to even get into, Renee, but we find ourselves in this situation. And I realized that our colored communities are hungry for something. They're hungry for motivation. They're hungry for things, you know. And I mean, here in Durban, there are people that are doing the work. You know, there's people like Lawrence Palmer, who's been doing this thing called Ubuntu in the Park for a number of years, started in Newlands, now he's doing a market in Greenwood Park, now he's about to do a market in Wentworth, you know. And there are definitely people doing the work, but I feel like there's so much more that could be done. So it dawned on me, hey, I have the skills of doing events. I studied psychology with having worked in SENEC. I have the experience of running national programs. Like, I have all the ingredients I need to create this thing. And it's really a passion project. It's a form of giving back, because I know that nobody is going to create the platform for our people. We have to create the platform for ourselves. Nobody's going to say, oh, let's meet the quota of 5 colored artists on this national lineup. They're not going to do that. Nobody's going to do that, you know. Everyone is in it for self-interest, and that's not a bad thing. I'll never judge that. So really, it's up to us. I've learned it's up to us to create the spaces, create the opportunities for our own. And if anything, I'm very much pro that. I mean, each community needs to take care of their own, you know, without over politicizing, without making anything too complicated or sounding like it's a form of discrimination. Like they say, charity begins at home. And I mean, if we just impact our spaces in a radial fashion, you know, from your home to your neighbors to your community, we can all just see such huge positive impacts once we do that. And for me, Peace 4 is just that, Renee. It's me seeing how I can assist my own communities, the people in our own communities. And it's been challenging. I won't lie. The first one was a breeze compared to the challenges I faced last year. I faced extreme character defamation, you know, accusations, public. It was just hectic, you know, it was hectic. And it's made me a stronger person. And it's also shown me the level of healing that is really required in our communities, where we're fighting against our own. Why are we fighting against our own? Let's start there. Why are we fighting against our own? You know, but through the work, through the mediation processes, even the mediation processes that are taking place between us and Newlands at the moment, we are coming into these small increments of healing and of betterment and of better understanding with the leaders, because there are people that obviously were against the cause and started spreading false rumors and things. And we now have to go into these mediation meetings to say, hey, that's not true. This is what we are doing. This is where the funding comes from. This is our quota. The work speaks for itself. You can see here, you know, so really it's not easy, because our communities lack social trust. They lack collective trust.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And you can understand, Renee, why they lack social trust, because they've gone through experiences where people come into their communities, empower themselves and leave.
It's about taking the numbers and not even coming back. I mean, we were told this even in the studying. When you take from a community for your master's, for your PhD, go back. Tell them what it is you've learned, you know, give back. And you're so right. It's definitely, our communities have been literally stripped of some of their own self, you know, worth. And this is what we are now sitting with.
Absolutely, Renee. So we didn't even know that these are the processes, and this would be part of the journey in creating peace, in creating unity, in healing our. We had no idea. but it is schooling us on levels we never even imagined.
I can
It's intense, to have to say to someone, look, we are intentionally working with local service providers. We are intentionally bringing on unemployed young people to work as marshals on the day. We are intentionally putting on local artists on that stage. We are not paying for flight tickets for people to come from Joburg, for people to come from Cape Town. No. We are literally empowering our own. And that's what developments is about. I mean, I know that it's difficult sometimes for people to see how all these different elements fit into one when it comes to a person like myself, Renee.
Always. People, you are spot on, because normally I say to someone with such, tentacles out there, I get questioned about myself all the time. I know exactly what you're saying, but it's when you have, for me, it's something is driving me. There is this need to give something because I can see it, and I know that. And I suppose this is what you're experiencing. You've got the social network. You know how to pull these people together. It's not that you have to be the face, but you know how to move things. And I think people find it difficult because it's like, how do you write a book and now sing a song and now, and now you're doing this. But it's connected. For me, all of these things are connected, people. It's not randomly. It's not like, oh, I'm giving out food today and I've seen, oh, but it looks like there's abuse there. How do I connect this person to that? It's connected. It's not something that's, so I think you don't have to explain to me, but for anyone listening, yes. We are layered. And
thank you. And an activist is an activist everywhere. Let me say that. We are not just activists in the meeting. We are not just activists on the platform and on the stage. We are activists everywhere. We are activating, we are creating, we are expressing, we are positively transforming, and it's a joy. It's a joy to do it. It's not always easy, but it is a joy. It is fulfilling.
No, absolutely. The one thing I want to say as we go out, I love the fact that you said, you pitched yourself to Mabalani way back when, and now I'm I pitched myself, to this marketing. So to anyone listening, you can do that. You can literally, and I think what we as colored people, we very often, and as women, we very often say, oh no, I don't have all the skills. No, I'm not qualified. And I like that you're saying, well, my work qualifies, what I've done qualifies. And I think that is something we need to start pushing. You don't need a piece of paper. I mean, I've also done events and brought people together and whatever, and I don't have, this background, but because you have a vision and you're able to impart that vision, that's the magic. So you have to go and sell your magic in that way. So thank you so much. This has been such a beautiful conversation. I wish you all the best with Lexicon 2.0 project. I know it's going to feel very cathartic the minute it's out. And that means that we can expect the Lex LaFoy flavor to just, I suppose, double. The heat is going to increase. Thank you so much for your time and for sharing. And at the end of this, we will definitely have your contact details for the book and even information around Lexicon 2.0 so that people can know, how do you connect? How do we support you going forward? And I love the fact that you said we're not parachuting in from wherever we are, but we can help you virtually. So if you need any support in that way, I am sure the universe will allow those connections. So thank you so much, Lex.
Thank you so much, Renee, and it's been a joy being here. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
If you're wanting your copy of Queen Shalabeama and the Star Children, please head over to heartistreeproductions@gmail.com. That is heart, as in HEART, is IS, tree, TREE, productions@gmail.com. And you will be getting a copy of this book and supporting this phenomenal artist.